What's up, y'all? My name is Taylor, and today I am coming to talk about why I decided to quit being a nurse at one of the top hospitals in the world. This is not going to be a sad video. This is not going to be a depressing video. I have come to a point in my life after my situation where I feel very liberated and empowered by my decision. And I don't want to express any, negative energy or anything like that. I just really want to come on here and just share my story and share my journey to hopefully encourage or motivate somebody else to follow in my same footsteps if they've had the same experience as me, or to give them the courage to keep pushing through if they decide to as well. So I just want to start off by saying just a disclaimer that this is in no way, shape, or form dishonoring or discrediting any institution at all. I am just strictly voicing my opinion. I am strictly voicing my experience, and this will just be that. Just gotta put that out there because some people be trying it and that ain't it. That ain't it. My name is Taylor and I am 23 years old. I became a registered nurse last year. I graduated from a university in May of 2018. After I graduated from nursing school, which was crazy hectic, like I don't even understand how I still made it through, like it was that intense. I decided to apply to some of the top hospitals in the world because I told myself that I really wanted a great residency program, and I knew that working at a top institution would hopefully give me that experience. So I applied to two hospitals, and I chose the one that I worked at for a year. But prior to that, I actually took the NCLEX exam a couple of months after I graduated, and I got all 265 questions. I was at the testing center for 6 hours, crying my eyes out, just picking answers that I had no idea the correct answer to. That was one of the hardest exams of my fucking life. Like, I literally don't know how I passed. But 2 days later, I passed and I became a registered nurse. Then I moved to a whole new state by myself, and that is where this story is going to begin. So I applied to that hospital, got an interview. My interview was 3 hours. What do you need to know about me for 3 hours as a nursing student? It was just crazy. It was just a crazy experience along within that. So yeah, I ended up getting the job and I moved to that state, and I started working as a registered nurse. My first day at that hospital, I was shadowing a nurse, right? So they have you shadow for a couple of days and then you start orientation. And I was working on internal medicine, which is basically a medical surgical floor, as a new graduate nurse. And that first day I had a patient. It was a black woman, and she was in with psychosis. And if you all don't know what psychosis is basically when you have a lost sense of reality, and you aren't aware of what's real and what's fake. And you can have delusions, and you can also have hallucinations. So that was what this woman was experiencing. And the first day she was surrounded by all these doctors, and she was literally crying out for help. Like, she did not want to go back on the street. And I remember her telling us that she would have hallucinations while she's driving her car. She would see like spiders crawling up her legs, and would literally open up the door and try to jump out of the car. And in my mind, I'm not really a nurse yet, right? Like, I'm just shadowing. I don't really know anything. I'm like, okay, number one, she's not safe to herself, and she's definitely not safe for others. So in my mind, I'm already like, okay, she can't leave the hospital. So long story short, this lady ends up leaving the hospital that same day. They let her out because supposedly there were no beds available at one of our psychiatric hospitals. So they ended up just letting her back on the street. And I knew at that point that this was going to be hard for me. I already knew. I'm like, at this point, being a nurse, if this is what I have to deal with, it's going to be hard for me. So I got off orientation, which was also crazy. Like, oh my gosh, it was crazy. Got off orientation and I started becoming a nurse, right? So I started, you know, trying to develop my skills. I started trying to, you know, just learn different things and just be better at being a nurse as a new graduate. So 4 months into being a new nurse, I had the opportunity to go on a medical mission trip. And I went to Haiti and I served a very undeserved population. And with that experience, being a nurse in a third world country, my perspective on life and my perspective on nursing changed entirely. I came back to America and I was not the same. I'm very grateful for that experience because it led me to where I'm at now. And it kind of also steered me in the direction of wanting to quit my job, because I felt like what I was doing wasn't impactful and what I was doing did not bring satisfaction to my life at all. So after I came back from Haiti, I was a nurse more, right? Going to work every day. And it got to the point where my moods were changing, right? Like, I would come home from work and I would just sleep all day. I would come home from work and I wouldn't eat. I would come home from work and I would just feel so drained. And I would come home from work and I would feel like not myself. Every time I walked into the hospital, I always felt like I couldn't be Taylor. Like, I always felt like I had to put on this mask and be somebody that I wasn't. And over time, that wore on me. And then I realized that I wasn't the only one having those same experiences and emotions. So it got to the point where I was going to work with a really bad attitude. I was going to work and I didn't want to be there. But one of the things that I really prided myself on was that I never let my patients know that. Like, my patients were like why I was there. Like, I would never go into a patient's room with an attitude, but I would have attitudes with my coworkers, or I really wouldn't be as social, or I really wouldn't want to communicate and all that. So I just realized that, like, Taylor was changing, and Taylor was changing into a person that she didn't want to be. And that made me feel so bad, and it made me feel like so inadequate and just like a bad person. Like, I truly felt like a bad person while I was a nurse. And that is like the worst experience, like, to feel like you're not a good person because you're doing something that's not bringing any spark into your life. And it didn't matter how much self-care I did, nothing worked. Like, I just had to get out of that environment, and I knew that. So I told myself, you know what, Taylor, you're gonna put in a year and you're done. But 6 months into being a nurse, I wanted to quit. But your girl had $1,500 rent. Who's paying that? So I had to keep working. So I kept working, and I was just like, you know what? I am going to really just focus and try my best to get through this year. And that's what I did. I dealt with racism. I dealt with situations that were very traumatizing to me. Nurses in general, we just deal with so much trauma and violence in the healthcare system that's not even talked about. I was emotionally unstable. I was dealing with all this mental trauma from patients, lack of support from my coworkers, lack of support from my managers. I remember one day, guys, when I tell you I broke down. Like, I went into the bathroom and had a mental breakdown. I went to my manager's office and I was just like crying hysterically, like just crying my eyes out, like snot all in my nose. Like, I couldn't express my feelings. Like, I was just like out of it. My manager slides me an employee assistance program brochure and tells me that I'm gonna have an occurrence if I go home. And I didn't come into work after that day for a whole week. I called off work for a whole week, and she never called me to make sure I was okay. She never called me to make sure I was still alive. She didn't do anything. And that's when I realized that I can't stay here any longer. Like, there's no reason for me to be here. I'm just a number. My place can be taken at any moment and filled at any moment. What I endured made me feel like I was walking around without a soul. Like, I truly felt like I was not human for a very long time. I was mean. I was just like depressed. I had anxiety. I was just not myself, and I did not want to feel like that anymore. So I'm here to tell you guys this. I don't know what you're going through, and some of you guys may be in the same position right now with your job, whether that's nursing, whether that's another industry. If you are not happy, I challenge you and I pray that you change your circumstance. And just because you make a choice to quit your job does not mean that what comes after that is going to be comfortable. I'm very uncomfortable right now with what I'm going through. Very uncomfortable. But that's where growth happens. And that's where you push yourself to really go after your dreams. And that's when you push yourself to really figure out your purpose. And I hope that whatever you're going through, you save yourself. Because nobody in this world is going to save you but you. If you have faith that everything is going to work out, then you will be okay. I just want you all to know that you matter. And you do not have to go through anything that makes you feel uncomfortable or changes who you are as a person, because it's not worth it. And through my struggles, y'all, I started this brand. And Nurses Are Human Too is a brand that will bring emotional reassurance and comfort to every nurse in the world. I am so passionate about this brand. This is a home for nurses to share vulnerable and honest experiences to inspire emotional wellness. And this was what I needed during that first year as a new nurse, to remind myself that I was still human and that what I was feeling was okay. So nurses, this is a brand created just for you. It's a lot to come with this. I am about to start a podcast. I want to start a nursing store online. There's so many things that I want to do for you all, and to be a guide in your life. I want this brand to be a guide to your story. Guys, if you haven't already, follow Nurses Are Human Too on Instagram. You can also follow my personal page at __Tae, T-A-E _Marie. And yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Again, this was not a sad or depressed video. I feel very liberated and empowered by my choice, and I hope that I encouraged or motivated somebody else to do the same thing. Whatever is inside of you, I pray that you let it out. Because the world needs your vision. The world needs that idea. The world needs what's inside of you. And whatever that may be, I hope that you share it. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you subscribe to my channel. Leave a comment below if you just kind of want to talk about your experience within nursing, or if you have a different perspective on nursing. Whatever it is, I would love to hear your opinion and things that you guys have gone through as well. So leave a comment below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.